If you're drinking alcohol and you have periods of time where you are feeling sad, you're feeling like you have low energy, you're not getting good sleep, there's a disruption in your appetite, you've got some moodiness. If you have both of these things in your life, there's a really high probability that they're linked, or at least that the alcohol is making those symptoms worse. Hi friends, welcome back. Today we are talking about alcohol and depression. Yes, I am talking about alcohol again. I'm incredibly passionate about putting this message out there that you don't have to drink alcohol like almost everyone else in your life. The more that I learn about it and the longer I have spent not drinking alcohol, getting off of that alcohol treadmill, the more passionate I become in sharing this message with you. And when we really look at what alcohol is, it is a poisonous substance. Just think about that. It is a brain toxin, and it drains your life energy. And so, the show is all about self-development. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I am here to help you, for us to just do this journey together of let's get better, let's learn, let's find more access to our radiance, right? And so alcohol is this huge lie that's out there in society that you can't watch a movie or a TV show without seeing alcohol glorified. And so it fires me up and it makes me come back here to do more episodes on really, let's look at the truth. And the truth is that alcohol and depression go hand in hand. And recently I did another episode on alcohol and anxiety. Anxiety and depression are on the rise. They're two huge problems that so many of us suffer with. And so when society is telling us, drink alcohol, drink it if you're happy, drink it if you're sad, drink it if you're being social, drink it if you're home alone, we're being told and we're training our bodies to crave alcohol when it's really detrimental to our mental health. And so today we're going to talk about the link between alcohol and depression. So research shows us that there's a bidirectional relationship between alcohol use disorder and depressive disorders. And so really what that means is 1/3 of people who are diagnosed with major depressive disorder also have been diagnosed with an alcohol use disorder. So we can see in the research and the trends that these two things really kind of go together. And we're talking about major depressive disorder, which is a full-on diagnosis, and an alcohol use disorder, which we've talked about in the past. There's all these different criterias. And so these are kind of two extreme ends, right? But there's all these shades of gray in between. So maybe you haven't been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, or if you've gone through the checklist, you're like, I don't really have an alcohol use disorder yet, but there's shades in between. And so having those drinks on the weekend and feeling just kind of bad on Monday, these things go together, right? And so we're going to talk about the extremes, but I want you to be aware that you might be somewhere on that spectrum. If you're drinking alcohol and you have periods of time where you are feeling sad, you're feeling like you have low energy, you're not getting good sleep, there's a disruption in your appetite, you've got some moodiness. If you have both of these things in your life, there's a really high probability that they're linked, or at least that the alcohol is making those symptoms worse. Okay, so when it comes to depression, there are two major diagnoses that we usually talk about. And so one is major depressive disorder. And so these are some pretty severe symptoms that need to be present for at least 2 weeks to receive this diagnosis. And these symptoms really impact your ability to do your work, get decent sleep, eat normally, study if you're a student, and really function in your daily life. And so to have major depressive disorder, it's a huge, disruption in your life for at least 2 weeks. Another one is persistent depressive disorder, and that's also been called dysthymia. So this is less severe symptoms. So maybe you're still getting through the day, you're still doing the things you need to do, but you have some of these symptoms, right? Like maybe some days it's harder for you to really be present at work, or sometimes you sleep good, sometimes you don't sleep good. Or maybe you just feel like every night I sleep okay, but it's not really good sleep. Maybe sometimes you feel like you're eating more than you should, and sometimes you feel like you're not eating as much as you should. And so your functionality is like, it's there, you're getting through things, but like I'm not at my best. I've got kind of somewhat of like a dark cloud, or like something's kind of weighing me down. And so this persistent depressive disorder can last, it lasts longer and at least 2 years. And so this is kind of like a condition that you just get used to living with. Doesn't mean you like it, but you get kind of used to it. So the research shows us that people who abuse alcohol have the highest rates of depression. And so this kind of leads us to the chicken or the egg question. It's like, did this person become depressed because of the alcohol, or was the depression leading them to use alcohol? Okay, so how do you know if you are suffering with some level of depression? Well, there's sadness, hopelessness, maybe feeling that you have a lack of interest in things, things that would give you pleasure in the past, maybe hobbies, things you'd like to do, no longer seem interesting to you. You just don't really want to do them. Having a lack of energy, having disruption in your sleep, disruption in your appetite, whether that's eating more or eating less, just having an overall disturbance in your mood, whether that be being irritable or just not wanting to be around anyone, just this feeling of like having a dark cloud or not feeling like yourself. Another way that I've heard depression described before is the inability to construct a future in your mind. So if you think about that idea of not being able to visualize a future in front of you that you're excited about and that you're working towards, and that feels pretty hopeless to think about that. And so if that's something that you've experienced or you've felt, this, just this kind of fog or this fuzziness and this lack of engagement in your life, then there's a possibility that you're getting into the realm of depressive or a depressive disorder. And so let's tie this in with alcohol, and it's a little bit of a chicken or an egg situation, right? We know the research shows that there's links between, using alcohol and feeling depressed, but which came first? And it's kind of inconclusive as far as if, feeling down causes someone to reach for alcohol, or if consistently reaching for alcohol then causes someone to feel down. And it really seems like it goes both ways, right? It's that bi-directional relationship where the alcohol and the depression are going to feed off of one another, and they're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So alcohol itself is a depressant, which it's interesting because anyone who's had a drink knows that initially you feel good, right? You feel a little higher. And we've talked about the chemical reasons and the neurotransmitter reasons behind why there's this initial kind of rush of like, ooh, this feels good. But as the alcohol runs its course, what you're left with is really feeling down, right? And so that's almost even just a chemically induced feeling of depression after consuming alcohol. So these imbalances in your neurotransmitters really can make whatever depression was already there, it's going to amplify it. So some of the neurotransmitters in our brain that help us to regulate mood include serotonin and norepinephrine. And so alcohol consumption over time actually can lower our serotonin and our norepinephrine levels. So this really makes it so it's more difficult for us to regulate our mood and can end up causing us to feel down and to feel depressed. And another way that alcohol really can contribute to or make depression worse is by disrupting our sleep. So anyone who has had a few drinks and then gone to bed for the night knows that while you might fall asleep quickly, if you are, inebriated, you're not going to stay asleep. And it's going to be a sleep that is really, not restful. Not getting consistent good sleep has really been linked to poor mental health overall, and certainly depression. All right, so if you have been experiencing depression or just feeling sad, if you're feeling hopeless, and maybe now that you've watched this, you're starting to draw a connection with these feelings of sadness and hopelessness to your alcohol use. And so, again, even though alcohol is so glorified and this idea that it's so fun to drink and that if you don't drink, you're the weirdo, right? We're told all of these lies, and this is why it's so easy to fall into the trap of drinking and just not feeling good. And so this is me giving you permission to question the use of alcohol in your life, right? This is me giving you permission to ask the question, is my life better with alcohol, or is my life better without alcohol? And the thing is, no one can answer that question without trying out a life without alcohol. And so I think 30 days is a minimum amount of time to really try it out. And this is how I started. This is when I stopped drinking alcohol. It was, hey, I'm going to do this for 30 days and I'm just going to see how it feels. And after 30 days, as I'm feeling better and better, I was like, why would I go back to doing something that makes my life worse, right? And it's something that had been a habit. And we've talked about how, we get locked in to the habit of alcohol. Our brain chemistry gets locked in to this habit of alcohol. And we have, physical symptoms that tell us drink alcohol. Our social patterns, the people that you hang out with, you drink together. Drinking is such a social activity. And to step away from it, even for 30 days, there's a big fear. It can be scary to think oh, I'm going to be the one to not be drinking. I'm going to have to tell the people I normally drink with, my friends, my family, hey, no, thank you. I'm taking a break from alcohol. And this opens up so many questions, right? And who wants to be that person who's getting these questions? Because unfortunately, the main question is, oh, what happened? Oh, you have a problem, right? And so because you want to do something healthy for yourself, because you are questioning, should I drink this poison, this brain poison, just because everyone else does? The question that's asked of you is, can you not handle alcohol? Did you get into some trouble with alcohol? Is this a problem? Are you an alcoholic? Right? And when we just step back and look at how absurd that is, that because you want to live a healthier life and you want to just try out what is a life like without alcohol, without this need to be drinking this, this brain poison that numbs you out and makes you feel terrible the next day, you're questioned that there's something wrong with you. And so this is me giving you permission to not feel like there's something wrong with you and to be different than everyone around you and to try it out. Because really, at the end of the day, if you try it out for 30 days and you find that you feel better, you find that you have more energy, you're sleeping better, you're losing weight, you're starting to feel hopeful and excited about the future, why would you go back to it, right? And so maybe you'll say, okay, I'll do another 30 days and another 30 days. And what's really great is you will get to a place where you no longer care what other people think about what you're drinking or what you're not drinking. When you have lived the feeling of vitality and the feeling of just relief that you don't have to deal with alcohol anymore, your body feels good and you're not stuck in a cycle of addiction, you're not going to feel the need to explain yourself to anyone. And so that is what I hope for you. I hope that, if this is something that you are currently stuck in, feeling depressed, feeling down, not having a clear, exciting vision for your future in your mind, and regularly drinking alcohol, I hope that with this information, you can kind of link these two things together. And potentially this is something that's going to allow you to take that step back from alcohol and to really rethink the way that you look at both alcohol and feelings of depression. And hopefully this can give you a way to find some freedom and to find yourself again, right? Because when we feel depressed, when we feel down, we don't feel like ourselves. And so taking a step back from alcohol, putting that down for 30 days just to see what happens with your depression. It's a gift that you can give yourself. And so that is my hope for you. I hope you found this helpful. Please like, subscribe, drop me a comment, and I'll be back next week with more content.